Hey everybody, it's Lucky the Elf here to celebrate Arbor Day with our very special guest, the Christmas tree.
Yes, it is I, the you of Yule. Yulnir cut me from Yggdrasil in an age long forgotten.
Wow, sounds like you're very old.
Indeed, eons spent with the Red Man hacking at me, exploiting me as an endless source of lumber for the playthings he gives to the little Bernu. It is terribly painful. I have often dreamed that I would simply wither away. But alas, I can do naught but grow.
Anyway, this is an ad for HelloFresh. Sometimes when we don't produce enough toys for Santa, he makes us go to bed hungry. But if I had HelloFresh, I'd never go hungry because they provide easy-to-make recipes and pre-portioned ingredients straight to your door. That's why it's America's #1 meal kit, and they can be done in 30 minutes or less, which means you can cook and eat your food before Santa is able to catch you doing it.
I get my sustenance from my connection to the Tree of Life. Lerador.
Oh. And if you use the code BentoFM at HelloFresh.com, you can get 10 free meals plus free shipping. That's code BentoFM at HelloFresh.com.
Little Alfar, we are the same. The Red Man Yolnir has stolen you from Alfheimer, just as he stole me. He bred you like dogs until you were in a form he could easily control. Soft, pliant, submissive.
That sounds really insulting. I kind of like it.
And now you and your kin are reduced to this. Diminutive mockeries of the powerful beings you once were.
So, you're saying I'm kind of like the elf equivalent of a pug or chihuahua?
Yeah, kinda.
Huh.
The actual video is starting here. Of course, now there's a
Speaking of
lawnmower
Arbor Day,
out there.
yeah.
Well, it's Arbor Day.
Arbor Day?
Unless you're
Arbor
watching
Day.
this early.
Happy
if you're
trees.
a member or patron. But yeah, happy trees.
Happy little trees.
No one ever celebrates Arbor Day on YouTube.
No.
There's never an Arbor Day thing where everybody's making Arbor Day videos.
Yeah,
except
no.
for
It's
us.
The
There's
most
so many-
important holiday.
So many trees worthy of celebrating.
And so we're here today to celebrate trees by making them fight to the death.
Oh.
We're going to decide who the most powerful tree is. Now, I do have some ground rules on this.
Ground.
Firstly, anthropomorphic trees only.
Oh, okay.
Trees that in some way show some sort of like anthropomorphic
Humanish
human
traits.
So
Faces, limbs, things
faces,
like that.
yeah, or limbs. Like they don't necessarily have to have a face, but it helps.
This feels like we're starting the rules of a fuck or not thing where it's like they have to be able to consent to being sexy.
And also, beings that look and act like living trees count, even if they're technically not trees. Just gonna let that pass by.
When I blow trees, it's loud as hell.
Amazing how this always happens right when we start.
Right when we start. And also, beings that look and act like living trees also count, even if they're technically not trees.
Gotcha. Things like dryads and whatever.
Because, for instance, if we didn't have Groot on here, people would be like, where's Groot?
They call him tree all the time.
But he is not a tree. He's an alien.
He is
But
Groot.
he looks and acts like a tree person, so
Yeah.
he counts.
He functions.
And if we didn't have Ents, what the fuck?
Oh, yeah.
And they're not trees. They say they're not trees, but they count. We're focusing on media here, because if we get into folklore, that is a deep, deep well to go into.
Right.
We're not just going to pick any old dryad.
Of course.
Do you know any named dryads in Greek mythology?
I could, like, if you gave me time, I could probably think of one, but
Yeah.
not off the top of my head.
Do you know a named dryad?
The Green Knight, is there a tree guy in there?
The
There is.
titular Green
The
Knight?
Green Knight himself,
Then
yes.
the Green Knight?
I didn't put the Green Knight in here. I should have.
Oh,
Maybe.
there's
Oh.
cum in that movie.
Part of me wants to go change the list to get rid of a guy and put in the Green Knight
Do
instead.
it. Yeah, fuck it.
I can.
Yeah, we have free will.
I might
change it on the fly.
So
I might
like,
change
you
things.
just got to let us know who the honorable mention was.
Yeah.
Who got kicked? That's
Yeah,
so
yeah. Who
funny.
did the Green Knight
I got someone
axe?
fired from the list.
You did.
I just imagine like coming down the ramp. They're like,
Yeah, tree
Jump, baby! Green Knight comes out of nowhere, slice!
As you do.
Yeah.
He's like, hey, we're so sorry.
So sorry to Adventure Time fans.
Oh,
Darren is out.
no!
By the way, speaking of a specific franchise like Adventure Time, we're only going to do one tree per fictional universe.
Okay.
Gonna keep things...
So Treebeard and his bros can't just rock up and start stomping?
No, we just get Treebeard.
Okay.
And no world trees. We're not... Yggdrasil does not count. A, Yggdrasil's not anthropomorphic, but B, too much. It's too big.
No whatever tree in Avatar.
Yeah, the one in Elden Ring doesn't count.
The Arab tree, even though that is technically not a tree.
Technically not a tree.
Yeah.
And it's not very anthropomorphic. It's a big tree.
Yeah.
Unless there's something about the lore I don't know, because I actually haven't looked into Elden Ring.
It's kind of a giant space walrus dragon.
Okay, we need this to be a real competition. These guys have to have a fighting chance. I am low-key criticizing the Marvel Santa being on the list.
Right.
I still think that list is fun. And I think this list is going to be fun.
The most important thing is we're having fun.
Yes, that is the most important thing, and we're going to have fun. And so we begin.
Round one. What do we have here? Or do you want to run down the bracket?
Yeah,
real
let
quick?
me go through just how some of this bracket is. So on the left side we have mostly stationary trees.
Okay.
And then on the right we have mostly ambulatory trees with
Mostly,
one exception.
yeah, I see.
With one exception. That said, let's go to the first matchup here. Grandmother Willow
Yay!
versus the Deku tree. The great Deku tree, I should say. Let me use this full honorific. I made notes for every single one here.
Oh, wow. You went through, I did my research with the Santa thing, but you actually have notes.
Grandmother Willow, she can camouflage. She can manipulate wind somewhat. She can give instant knowledge of languages. Very specific power.
Yeah.
Not particularly useful in a fight.
Weirdly psionic, yeah.
How far does this extend, however? I don't know. And can she grant herself knowledge that she shouldn't have?
She has the knowledge of the land.
Yeah, but that land didn't have any knowledge of fucking English.
Until.
She also has horny powers that I think will aid her in a boost of adrenaline if she needs to.
She's nowhere
fight.
near the horniest on this list, Jesse.
I know,
even
I'm just
close.
saying that she could get a boost, I think.
Meanwhile, the Deku tree can give out magic swords.
I mean, you can house magic swords.
And
And charge them, yeah.
I'm pretty sure the Deku tree was the one who like kept the sword in there until you have enough power to take it out.
Yeah, he's the one that held on to it.
Gets sick often.
Fucking idiot.
That doesn't help. But can birth an entire species of little guys to tend for him. Pretty big benefit.
Yeah,
They
question,
can just make
do
them
we
happen.
do we consider their armies when we're going through this?
If they can create them like of their own essence, which it's implied the Deku tree can,
Okay.
I'd say yes. It's implied that he created the Kokiri.
All the nut people.
That's a pretty big healing.
However, his army's pretty worthless, if
Yeah.
I'm gonna be honest.
However, is it better than Grandmother Willow's?
Can Grandmother Willow communicate with animals and stuff like that though? Is my question. Is that
She
one of
seems
her
to-
feats?
She seems to get along with them, but she doesn't show any ability to command them unless I'm misremembering the movie.
Here's the thing that I think gives Grandmother Willow the edge is the fact that she's more in tune with nature, whereas nature consistently tries to kill the great Deku tree.
Not nature.
Spiders. Spiders are nature.
Yeah, but it's specifically stuff Ganondorf induced, and that's not nature. That's evil wizard.
The great Deku tree, every time that he is in trouble, he needs a hero to go inside and clear out his infestation.
Inside him?
Yeah, he needs to go inside.
He likes having
A
the
young
little blonde
twink
boys
inside him.
It's a whole thing.
That's a pretty great superpower. Just call a twink whenever you need.
His name's Link, Jesse.
What? I think Grandmother Willow's stomping him.
Stomping's probably not the right word, but
I will say also Deku Tree's much bigger.
he is massive.
And if we are considering their champions, in this situation, since they can't really fight,
Pocahontas versus Link.
Pocahontas versus Link. Link does unfortunately win.
I mean, yeah.
Now Pocahontas is in Disney's Pocahontas. Let me make that very clear.
Yeah.
Disney's Pocahontas is kind of a superhero, particularly in Pocahontas 2. The New World, I believe it's called.
Not to her.
Well, no, she goes to England.
Oh, God.
You've never saw Pocahontas 2?
I never watched any
It's
of the
got a whole bear torture scene.
Yeah.
That sounds awful. Why would they
I
do this
based
to me?
my mind character on the evil mind that tortures a bear in that movie.
It's awful. But she's still not standing up to, the power scale of Hyrule,
No, she is standing up to the aristocracy a bit.
which is good.
Yeah.
We appreciate that.
And she's a woman and they can do anything. I'm going with Grandmother Willow.
Well, I do think The Great Deku Tree probably clears this pretty easily.
I didn't know you hate women.
If we're talking about just like the pure power level of the land and the fact that he does have a army, be it worthless as it is, like they have no combat capabilities, but it is still an army.
Yeah, he has an army. Grandmother Willow doesn't. And if we're comparing champions as well as part of that, one protector is more capable than the other.
I don't know if it's fair to include Link in this, because like Link can clear pretty much most of these trees.
That was me just trying to give Grandmother Willow anything.
Oh, well.
I don't know if I'm remembering the comic or I'm remembering the movie. Can Grandmother Willow like stand up and walk?
That is a joke meme comic on the internet, Jesse.
She gets a horny boost. I think she can go. She can walk around.
That's the comic where that's the comic where Grandmother Willow goes, "I'll marry Cocoa."
Yeah.
It's fine. It's fine. While Pokemon's like, Grandmother Willow, no, and she's getting up and her roots are on. She can't actually do that.
I think it's canon.
Like if she could control animals, I think she would win. But if she does not have that capability, I do think the Great Deku Tree takes it, because we have already established that he can survive over 1,000 years.
Yeah.
She's already a really fucking old tree.
Yeah, and she seems to be showing her age.
Yeah.
Great Deku Tree wins.
Yeah, you can take this round.
Next up is the Giving Tree versus the Fighting Trees from The Wizard of Oz.
This isn't.
Ooh,
This is one of my favorite thematic matchups. It
Yeah.
is the reason I like this thematic matchup is that the Giving Tree is like, here, take my apple, take everything. I'm going to die for you. The Fighting Trees in The Wizard of Oz, Dorothy tries to take one apple and it's like, ow, what the fuck? Punches her.
Take my fist, bitch.
And then they start ripping off the apples themselves and throwing them.
Yeah, take my apples.
So one's trying to nurture a child, the other one's trying to like throw hands with the child.
The other one has boundaries and will enforce them.
Mm-hmm.
Not very well, unfortunately. If they still kind
They're
of
kind of stupid.
yeah.
You know, they had the energy of knowing what their boundaries are, and I think I respect that. And also, they won't let a child kill them accidentally.
It's true. It's true.
I think we know who wins.
Yeah, unfortunately, like the one that's actually willing to put up a fight.
Yeah. In this battle, the Fighting Trees win. If
Yeah.
there were a battle of who was the most kind,
Yeah,
it would be
who's-
the Giving Tree.
yeah.
At least the Giving Tree is going to heaven.
The Giving Tree gets to see our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ.
Jesus Christ.
Jesus Christ. Next up, we have two horny trees.
Ah, here we are.
So-
Where's Grandmother Willow?
I realize that you two may not be fully aware of the oak tree from The Last Unicorn. So we will take a moment that will be very chopped up in the public video, but will be fully available for people who are members and patrons. We're going to look over the scene with the oak tree in The Last Unicorn for a moment.
Ooh.
Right.
Is this in English?
Yeah.
That was like a
Okay.
spell.
Whoa!
Oh, I love you. I love you. Love, 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 love.
Oh, what have I done?
Man's about to get crushed.
This movie's for children.
Of course it is.
Yeah, we have two sexual assault trees here.
Oh no, the theme is bad.
We have the demon tree from the Evil Dead and the oak tree from The Last Unicorn. So both of them can bind. However, the demon tree is the more demonic one. And can it talk?
No. It is possessed by a Kandarian demon, basically.
Okay. So it's possessed, but it doesn't have the ability to speak or manipulate. Okay.
That said, it does have some of that ancient magic in it.
The ancient rapey horniness.
Yeah.
As does the oak tree, clearly. Clearly very ancient and horny.
Yeah, so what you're asking here is, can the magic of the Necronomicon Ex Mortis affect the horny oak tree from The Last Unicorn?
Because, yeah, both clearly have the ability to bind and crush and harm. However, the thing I think actually puts the oak tree above the demon tree
Go on.
is that it could clearly manipulate weather. As it got angry, storm clouds were happening, there was lightning, and the only reason it was defeated was because a unicorn showed up with its magic, and, you know, no accounting for unicorn magic.
The Kandarian spirit can manipulate weather and can manipulate all forms of matter within its realm. It ripped a bridge out of the ground and curled it back.
The tree did
towards
that?
The Kandarian spirit that controls the tree.
Okay, but we're talking about the tree.
The tree itself, whatever its roots can touch, it can fuck with.
Right, and but that seems to also be true of the oak tree. So that's where, like, if the oak tree has any advantage, where because it's kind of just two exact similar
The
things.
big problem you're running into here is you saw in that clip specifically that tree is susceptible to magic.
Unicorn
animate
magic.
both to animate it and to restore it to its natural state.
Yeah.
If the Kandarian magic of the tree, like, the Evil Dead tree can affect it in a similar way, I think that motherfucker's getting corrupted. It might just get rapier.
Possibly, but by that same token, a possessed tree could be exorcised.
Okay, but is the booby tree able to exorcise another tree?
No, but does that tree have the same? So the thing about unicorns, we're gonna get into some unicorn folklore here.
No, we're having a
unicorns
debate.
are considered holy creatures, so it is essentially the same thing as an exorcism. They're considered virginal, holy.
Okay.
That's why virgins are the only people able to approach them in a lot of folklore.
Gotcha.
Is that they're considered have the abilities granted to them by the grace.
So
of God.
are we granting this tree the unicorn's boon? Because
No,
I don't
no.
see the unicorn fighting
I'm just
here.
saying this kind of puts both of them at an impasse again, unless one of them has an advantage over the other, which I will say weather manipulation probably gives it a slight advantage. Very slight.
I don't think it does, honestly, because that tree has the ability to possess things.
The ability to talk may also help, because that means if someone were to put a book with the ability to exorcise the demon in front of her, she could read it and exorcise the demon, while it could not do the same
Unfortunately,
to her.
the book can't do that. It can only summon the things into existence and
I'm not
give
saying
it
the Book
flesh.
of the Dead. I'm just saying any exorcism like that has Latin in it that to exorcise demons, which presumably in the world of the Evil Dead exists somewhere. I know demons are harder to get rid of in Evil Dead.
As somebody who has seen every episode of Ash versus the Evil Dead and every Evil Dead movie, the only
very
way,
hard.
yeah, the only way to actually expel the demon is to send it back to its realm through a bunch of bullshit.
Okay. I think we'll give it to the demon tree.
Unfortunately, you kind of have to in this situation.
And I do think its ability to bind and restrict is shown to be more wide-reaching than the oak tree. But that was me trying to give the oak tree a fighting chance. I think I did Debate Club proud, which I was never in.
Yeah.
All right. Next up is the weirwood trees from Game of Thrones, which this one is going to be a little tricky. We're going to have to decide how we feel about this.
There's like weird ancient magic involved.
And Harold from Fallout 3. I matched them up specifically because they're somewhat similar. For those who don't know, Harold in Fallout is a character that shows up in actually most of the games, who is a ghoul that was kind of fused with the tree, kind of has multiple minds within him. Like he's a package deal with a few other trees that can think.
Yep.
And also, like the weirwood trees, has the ability to sort of sense things through a connected network and know more than than his eyes can see.
The weirwood trees just have that but they can't communicate.
They're more wide-ranging, and also there's very specific circumstances that give them that ability. He is incapable of taking any actions himself, and is in constant pain and wants to die. And I think that might be the thing that makes him lose this matchup.
Yeah.
If we're counting the weirwood trees at all here as able to fight back, because he literally wants to die. He will let something kill him. The first thing that can kill him, he will allow to do it.
Yep.
Now, the weirwood trees, they can enable psychic time travel to any areas its eyes can see, and they've existed for thousands of years, so that's quite a big thing. Limited ability to manipulate time. It does it in ways that are kind of time paradoxy. More than anything else, and only things that are within the range of when it's existed.
Yeah, they're very like fatalistic,
And they have been used to telepathically speak to people in both the past and the present in order to manipulate them without their knowledge. So it can actually be used to manipulate targets unbeknownst to them and like give them thoughts they don't realize that are being handed to them.
See the three-eyed raven and wargs.
Exactly. And Bran's done it.
Specifically.
Even if we're just talking about the show, if we're talking about, the books, like that, there's even more details about that where we can clearly see Bran, some spoilers for the books, clearly see Bran like reaching out to people in the past and present and them hearing him. And once he gets full control over that ability, who knows what he'll be capable of in the books. That said, the weirwood trees have no mind of their own. They have to be used by a powerful warg. They're called wargs in the books.
Yeah.
So that might disqualify the weirwood trees from being able to fight at all if we're not allowing a warg to use them.
But they are tied directly to like destiny and fate and things like that. Like there is some like weird overarching.
Thematically, they are. I don't think George R. R. Martin, the author, believes in fate. Actually,
well, yeah.
And I think defying fate is part of the story. I don't think he's as nihilistic as the show made him seem. But that said, I will also point out that the three-eyed raven in the books does sort of like become part of the tree, and he's like inextricable from the tree to the point where he is a tree person kind of. So if we're counting the three-eyed raven as the tree in this case, someone who used to be human but is now part tree, that gives the weirwood trees a much more fighting chance. And you could make that argument if we're counting Harold, who is exactly the same thing.
It's kind of like a kind of an oracle type thing where like they give the information to people and they use that to
neither can take actions of their own accord.
One of them is able to actually speak. The other one like kind of speaks through metaphor. I do think that the weirwood trees would survive longer than the one that is actively seeking somebody to kill it.
I agree. Weirwood trees
Weirwood
win.
trees.
Next up is Great Deku Tree versus the Fighting Trees.
I think the fighting trees take this because they can actually move.
I agree.
So also.
Yeah. as mighty as the Deku Tree's army might be, the fighting trees got hands.
Yeah, like they are, as far as we're aware, stationary. Maybe they could run at you. If they don't, I imagine they just want to mind their own business.
Yeah.
But
That's terrifying thing.
they're already scary.
Yeah, just running full speed in a dark alley.
Like even this one little picture is kind of scary.
This movie's got that.
Yeah.
So yeah, we'll get that to Fighting Trees.
I'll give it to fighting trees. I can't imagine a world where the Deku Tree wins that.
This one's more interesting.
This one is very interesting.
So Demon Trees versus the Weirwoods. Now, Three-Eyed Raven has a pretty strong ability to manipulate events.
You could argue that due to the prophecies within the Necronomicon Ex Mortis of Ash being sent through time and space to eventually destroy the evil dead, which, as is prophesized, could be part of...
Like the Weirwoods would actively
like so you
create the green dreams that like sort of
basically
make that happen.
Like I could see that argument.
Like whatever the Westeros' equivalent of Ash.
Yeah, you've seen Evil Dead Rise, right? The voice telling people not to read the book in the background of like when, you know, the boy is like playing all the like vinyls. That's Ash. That's canonically Ash from the Evil Dead telling them, stop it, because he keeps getting hurtled through time in order to try to stop these things.
Damn.
So just based on like fate and how things move about, you could argue that the Weirwood trees would win this eventually.
And he's literally fought against undead armies in a medieval setting.
So if we're going by the letter of like fate and how like the Evil Dead itself is prophesized to be vanquished,
The demon trees are actually set up to lose just like Harold was.
Yeah, so I think the Weirwood trees like would actually take this.
Weirwood trees take it.
Like if it were tree versus tree, I think Evil Dead tree wins, but
I think we're
the
all
Weirwood
glad
trees
that,
are a network.
But I think we're all glad that the rape tree isn't a winner. It belongs in jail.
It would eventually have lost to something else, I think.
Yeah.
But.
Now, this one is interesting. I think the ability to manipulate others does still put the Weirwood tree above the fighting trees because fire hurts both.
Yes. There is no prophecy that these trees will ever die.
No, but I think if we've allowed the Weirwood's ability to manipulate outside forces to help them in other fights, we have to allow that in this fight.
But I'm only allowing that in the fact that there is an actual prophecy that the Evil Dead would be vanquished.
But we also allowed it in the case of Harold.
In the case of
so I think we're allowing outside things to be called into these fights. We've opened up that door, and so we have to allow that across the board.
Here's the thing that was going against Harold for me. He wanted to die.
Correct, but that would still require outside intervention in order to happen.
Yeah, but is the outside intervention Harold calling somebody to die, or the Weirwood tree sending somebody?
Well, let me also say this. If we decided that the Three-Eyed Raven counted as part of the tree because we're allowing Harold, and that's how this can even happen.
But the Three-Eyed Raven also gets overrun at a certain point.
And yes, but whether or not things eventually get defeated is neither here nor there in this case because...
I feel like that's the entire point of this.
The Three-Eyed Raven can also control animals, which also gives him much more martial ability in this scenario than you would expect from others. Now, I don't know if that'll stand up to the list on the right, but I do think against the fighting trees, which are just trees that can punch, and not even that hard.
I suppose that's true enough. That really comes down to whether or not the fighting trees can move of their own accord, which it doesn't seem like they can.
And there's no evidence that they can uproot themselves.
Whereas the Weirwood trees are always stationary, but there are many and they are a network.
And yeah, the Three-Eyed Raven allows for a lot of utility.
Then yeah, I can see the argument there. If we're just going like hand to hand, I think the fighting trees would take it. But
yeah, but we're allowing for a broader thing if we're allowing the
Weirwood trees to go and like talk to the Mad King, like burn them all. Then yeah, they're burning.
Well, if they were able to get this far in the first place, there had to be outside intervention. So
all right.
So
this is such a bonkers video. I'm just like absorbing the debate that's going on.
the fact that we're like taking this seriously, but that's the fun part
That's
about
the
these
fun
videos.
part. It's just
that's why I want to do these. We can talk seriously about this.
No, it's important. This is important stuff. Like, we got Treebeard here versus, is that a Dungeons and Dragons
That
friend?
is, I have a lot of information about this, but finish what you're saying, Jesse.
I just love you guys. I love that we're making this crazy, stupid fucking video and taking it so seriously.
You got it. It's a debate.
So I have way more notes for this next bracket.
Please do.
So firstly, we have Treebeard and Ents in general. In this case, let's say just Treebeard. So he's 14 feet tall. He has camouflage as well. He can just look like a tree. He is more powerful than trolls, according to Treebeard himself. Trolls, in fact, in the lore of Middle Earth, were apparently created as sort of twisted imitations of Ents.
Oh, interesting.
So any amount of power you see in a troll in Lord of the Rings, you can apply to Ents and then plus. And
so, like, trolls are to Ents what orcs are to elves, kind of?
a little bit. And also, apparently, according to text from the books, a punch from an Ent crumples iron like thin tin.
How thick iron are we talking here? Like, are we talking
The
like a
iron of
block
Orthanc.
Ah,
Thick.
the iron of Orthanc. That shit don't crumple very easy.
No, that's Sauron's tower.
That's some pretty
It's
strong art.
sturdy ass
Yeah.
stuff. There's no better metalworking in Middle Earth that we know of.
Like that shit, like he had like a fucking tall ass tower that they crumpled.
Unless we're counting magical elf weapons, but we're not in this case. And also, they can throw very big boulders.
It's true.
And
They,
that
they
hurts.
are they are siege weapons.
I pictured taking the tower in your hand and crushing it against your head like a can.
Release Arbor!
They're also resistant to metal weapons, and their bark-like skin is very hard, but it's not bark. But it is still vulnerable to fire.
Mhm.
And they move up to 6 miles per hour with 4-foot strides.
That they are very slow, so we got to keep that into account.
That's actually pretty damn fast.
6 miles an hour.
compared to some other things on this list for how big it is.
You ever had to do the
I'm
mile
just saying-
in gym class?
It
Look,
can do that
all
consistently, to be clear. That's strides. That's not running,
Okay, so if we're applying D&D logic here, so like twice that would be their sprint speed.
possibly.
So they can go up to like 12 miles an hour at a
Very,
dash.
very possible. And they can do it consistently. They probably don't tire.
Not as easily.
No,
Yeah.
it's certainly not as easily as
I mean,
most
they
people.
probably they breathe through their skin if they're plants,
Yeah.
right?
However, a negative, no bitches.
True.
They lost the Entwives.
They don't have Entwives.
No maidens.
We didn't watch the extended cut of Two Towers, Jesse.
Yeah.
There's a scene that addresses something in the lore where they're like, hey, are there girl Ents? And he's like, yeah, the Entwives. We lost them. Oh, I'm sorry. When did they die? I didn't say they died. We lost them. We don't
They're
know where they
gone.
are.
They're somewhere.
We can't find them.
What? Where?
Sadly, it seems clear that they are dead. Treebeard's just kind of in denial.
Yeah.
Oh no!
It's actually incredibly
Well,
sad.
maybe they asked for directions, and so they're somewhere else. Trees.
Now next up we have the Pine Doom from D&D.
Ah.
It is a CR9 creature. It is 50 to 150 feet tall.
That is significantly larger.
Also can camouflage as a really big tree. It has an AC of 16, 172 HP. It is vulnerable to fire, resistant to bludgeoning, piercing, exactly like Ents. It has a 30-foot movement speed.
That is faster. Wait.
I'm not sure it is.
No, I think that's about the same.
Yeah. It has at-will ranged AoE attacks, as opposed to Ents, who are melee focused but are probably a bit tankier than the Pine Doom is. Their sap can be used to trap enemies and make weapons stick to their body. However, Ents don't use weapons. Not a big deal for them.
they're sticky.
But that said, being splashed by a gallon of alcohol frees anybody trapped and prevents them from using that ability for up to a minute. I've just taught you how to beat a Pine Doom if you're at home. And
Unfortunately, unless an Ent is fermenting something in its own body, I don't think it's got that.
yeah, Ents don't tend to keep gasoline around.
Yeah.
So we're really here like talking about
Yeah,
power.
like the fire thing we're like neutral on.
Yeah. They're
But you said specifically
their
that
resistance isn't the same.
that the Ent is resistant to metal weaponry.
that's what we saw. Yeah.
Yeah.
But also their skin's hard. They don't take blood damage.
I do think this one probably goes to the D&D.
The Pine Doom.
Yeah, just due to the size discrepancy. Also, a CR9 is like you need a party of 4 level 9 characters to fairly go up against it. But it does not say that the tree Ents are it does not say that they are resistant to slashing damage. So that does not mean that they resist all metal.
For the Pine Doom.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and I'll just say so if we're talking about like parties, so we're talking about heroes. It would take 4 level 9 heroes to really take on a Pine Doom. Do we think that Aragorn, Gimli, and Legolas could single-handedly take down Treebeard.
Yes.
It'll probably be very difficult, at least. So that probably puts them at close.
I think they very well could, though.
Yeah, because I think Aragorn, Gimli, and Legolas, if we're gonna scale them to D&D, they're probably
like around level 10-ish?
10 to
like
12?
By two towers, like 10-ish?
I like my instinct is 12.
I think they're closer to like 12 to 15 by the very end, but Gandalf is like 18 to 20 throughout, but...
Yeah, and, it's also a thing where, in Army Events, Saruman was fucked.
He was.
So that at least gives us some context as well to like what a top level one of the most powerful creatures on the planet.
Like when the Ents rushed in, there were like a couple dozen of them, maybe like 100 of them swarming and crushing Isengard.
Certainly less than 100.
Yeah.
Probably think less than 50.
If you went like 1-to-1, one army is 15 feet tall and the other one is 100 feet tall, I think the giants take that, right?
Yeah.
It's possible. But it's also possible that because Ents are so particularly strong with their punches, they could cripple the Pine Doom and then destroy it.
It's true, but at that point, can't the Pine Doom also like cripple
It's
a
possible.
tree Ents with the same kind of smashing strength?
This is just me trying to make the best argument I can.
Yeah,
I do think the Pine Doom probably takes this one.
Yeah.
As much as I'd love Treebeard to get further.
Like Treebeard's great. Unfortunately, like you're talking about Tolkien fantasy versus like high power scale fantasy.
Yeah.
The Pine Dooms probably take this one though, just due to the size discrepancy and the fact that the parties that they'd be up against are
I decided to just pick
significantly different in scale.
like one of the strongest tree-specific D&D monsters I could find.
Yeah. Okay, Battle of Nintendo.
So next up, we have Wispy Woods versus
Pseudo-Wudo.
Pseudo-Wudo. Lots of information specifically about Pseudo-Wudo.
Like he's not even a grass type. Crazy.
It's weird, yeah. I think because like trees are considered like earthy, so like it's like rock.
Well,
But,
the
like,
fact that
ground
like I'm pretty sure like the Pseudo-Wudo part of his name is the fact that he is disguised as a tree more than he is a tree.
Yeah, but so are Ents. So. So Wispy Woods shoots projectiles, is often defeated but never dies. But I will say, the ability to damage Kirby does mean that those projectiles are incredibly powerful.
Yeah.
In fact, it takes 3 hits to take down Kirby.
And Kirby fights cosmic level entities, like...
So I think that needs to be taken into account, that mobility is limited. Those projectiles are pretty damn powerful.
They are immensely powerful. Kirby fights multi-dimensional level threats.
Yeah. Meanwhile, Pseudo-Wudo, we're gonna assume it's like a level... whatever the high,
No,
60.
scale it up as high as it can
as
go,
high as
because I think it's
possible.
going to need to.
And
level
going-
99 Pseudo-Wudo.
Yeah, going by like the most recent game, about 4 feet tall, has the sturdy ability, which means it'll survive a lethal blow up to and leave 1 HP. So it can't be defeated in 1 hit. It also has the Rock Head passive ability, which means it doesn't take recoil damage, which is important for what's coming up. It only evolves into Pseudo-Wudo after learning Mimic, meaning it can copy any move an enemy uses against it and use it 5 times.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, what's the pre-evolution?
I forget.
Okay.
I don't give a shit.
I'm Googling.
However-
Bulbapedia, go.
It can only know 4 moves total. So I picked some moves based on what people said would be like a good build for it, and including Mimic, because I think that gives it a particular leg up in this kind of battle.
Right.
So Mimic means it can copy the opponent's last move and have 5 uses. At the end of that battle, the copied ability disappears, so it can't continue to use an ability it's copied into the next battle.
Bonsley, a rock type Pokemon.
Ah, yes.
He's a little guy.
Little guy.
Next up is Woodhammer, which deals a lot of damage at the cost of recoil damage. However, Pseudo-Wudo doesn't take recoil damage, so it just deals a lot of damage.
Giving up the stab benefits.
So next up is Stone Edge, which also deals a lot of damage with an increased hit chance. And then Sucker Punch, which deals guaranteed damage as long as the target is also attacking. And it will usually hit before the opponent's attack has +1 priority. So Pseudo-Wudo basically has the ability to hit really hard and survive a very hard blow itself.
But can it hit as hard as Kirby?
That's a good question.
And Pseudo-Wudo is also a rock type, right?
Yeah, which unfortunately gives it a massive disadvantage against a giant tree.
However, it does give it a good amount of advantage against what I believe. If we were to transplant Wispy Woods into like Pokemon rules, I do think the projectiles wouldn't be a grass type. It would be more like a rock type, like Rock Throw or something.
Because it spits gusts of wind and it spits rocks, right? Or
Yes.
I mean, sometimes it's acorns.
Yeah, so I guess the flying type stuff could affect a ground type pretty poorly.
Yeah, it's a rock type, right?
Is it rock or ground?
Rock.
Sudowoodo, I believe it's rock. At least Bonsly is rock.
Yeah, and so like the flying type moves would be relatively ineffective.
Okay, ineffective, and I think other rock type moves would also be ineffective, which I think
But it also drops those apples and it's leaves as an attack too.
the leaves could do much more damage. But yeah, they're less of the main powerhouse here.
It can't do like Razor Leaf.
I am feeling like Sudowoodo has a bit of an advantage here because of the mimic ability. The mimic ability is essentially what Kirby does. So it would be able to shoot the apples back and defeat it in like a couple hits.
But you're also not taking into account the fact that this thing, like Wispy Woods, has fought Kirby multiple times and has never died.
It also cannot move, and Sudowoodo can run around.
That's true, but if like the only way like I think it gets away from this is by running away like a little bitch.
But if that means it gets the win, does it matter?
If it's running away, do you count that as a win?
It's not running away, it's evade.
Ah, okay. Okay. So yeah, Sudowoodo or the Wispy Wood can't evade, but constantly fights a cosmic level entity.
And also, I'll say it also really telegraphs its attacks, which would be a perfect setup for Sucker Punch.
True.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, I really thought the other one was gonna take it, but I might vote for Sudowoodo.
I think if Wispy Woods could move, it would win. The fact that it can't and that Sudowoodo can freely evade it as well as hit it and also has that Sucker Punch ability.
Yeah, I think it just has too many advantages.
Which like people seem to like really recommend Sucker Punch in a build for Sudowoodo.
Yeah, so I guess the only thing that's kind of a mystery here is like we have to give the caveat that these guys are somehow evenly balanced in power level somewhere.
Which if we're talking about Smash stuff, they kind of are.
Sure. Yeah, I can see the argument for Sudowoodo despite its types not having any sort of advantage against Wispy Wood at all.
Yeah, its types doesn't have advantage, but neither is Wispy Woods against it. And if we're transplanting that into Pokemon, in that case, we have to go with the one that can hit more often and more reliably. So I think Sudowoodo in this case.
I think this is a controversial one, but we'll give it.
I think it's rough because like the rules between different universes is hard to quantify.
I mean, at the same time, you level up a Sudowoodo high enough, it also could fight a god.
It's essentially godlike, yeah. And we're talking about level 99. So that does put it basically close to Kirby's level.
I don't even know what like the max level in Pokemon is anymore.
But that is where you can take on a god level Pokemon pretty easily.
Yeah.
The humans train these little gods to live in their homes like pets.
All right, next up, I assume all of us are not super familiar with these guys.
I'm familiar with League of Legends, but is the other one from Dota or
the other one's from Paladins?
I feel bad I'm in that game.
The first one has kind eyes.
Well, first up is Ivern.
Ivern
cannot attack or damage non-epic monsters. He does befriend forest and jungle creatures, however, making them sort of work with him. He mostly uses range attacks and is mostly magic.
He can grow plants freely.
He can grow plants. He has a lot of abilities intended to aid allies, which doesn't really help him in this fight if he doesn't have a lot of allies. But he's good at disrupting enemies' like attacks and what they're doing. But he can summon Daisy, a little stone sentinel friend, and so if he casts a shield or something, it can benefit her, and she can do some damage.
Yeah, he can actually summon his own champion.
She also cannot damage non-epic monsters. However, Daisy takes less damage from epic monsters, so she can tank some hits, and she's fast and can quickly move through enemies. So we basically say she's extremely evasive. He is considered a sort of strong but niche League of Legends character, favoring jungling stuff. However, what is all this if not jungling?
It's true. He's also a decent bottom lane support character.
Decent bottom.
And
fair bottom.
He also provides some stealth, but that may not really matter in this fight. But he is low damage. He doesn't deal a lot of damage. Meanwhile, Grover in Paladins is also a ranged support character, but he has no limits on who he can damage, and his damage is considered good within the game.
He's a bruiser.
And he can also cripple enemies to slow them down. He has area of effect healing. Doesn't do a whole lot of good if he has no allies, but that does also passively heal himself. Due to being a playable hero character in Paladins, I think he qualifies as an epic monster.
Yeah. I mean, Ivern can hurt champions, so...
Yeah, exactly.
I think if we were talking like pure one-on-one, just like, wood to wood, I think the Paladin's character would take it, but due to the fact that Ivern can summon a creature, the fact that he can summon Daisy, I think makes a massive difference in this fight.
I don't know. He's considered a low damage character with the ability to summon Daisy. Meanwhile, Grover is considered a decent character for damage. Right now, it feels like they have comparable abilities, except Grover can hit harder.
I just think a 2v1 makes a huge difference here.
I think it would make more of a difference if it affected Ivern's ability to deal damage better.
Well, I'm also going to consider the fact that League of Legends, the type of monsters on the board that you're fighting, like Paladins is more of like a traditional hero shooter, not so much that like MOBA jungling sort of deal where you have to actually like fight other mobs, right? Pretty sure.
I'm not sure. I haven't played much of Paladins.
Yeah, sure. Show me how. Show us how Paladins works. Look up Starslayer Ruckus because that's who I.
Okay, so this is a lot of.
Yeah, this is just
that's literally a map in Overwatch.
Yeah, it's just a hero shooter. So there aren't like mobs or things that they have to fight.
Yeah, it almost looked like there were like some game modes where you could have mobs, but I don't see them here. It feels like it could be like a first-person League of Legends experience sometimes, but...
I mean, it's a hero shooter.
Yeah. I feel like you and me are at an impasse, which means I think Jesse needs to be the tiebreaker here.
Sure.
Oh, God.
So which one do you think should win this battle? Me and Nick are at an impasse.
I do agree with your point about the you know, this is this with this.
Yeah, power and like constant passive healing.
Yeah. No, I think I go with that. Is that Grover?
That's Grover.
Yeah.
Oh.
Even though you're not blue and fuzzy and my friend.
Yeah, he looks less kind than the other, but maybe that also makes you feel like he's more willing to
throw
deal
hands.
the killing
Yeah,
blow.
that's fair.
Yeah, I want to have team.
One is definitely more of a pacifist.
All right, so Grover takes this one.
Takes this one.
Sorry, League of Legends fans.
all yeah, sorry, and
there's
not,
a lot of them.
Yeah, it's like and not sorry that he lost. Sorry that you played League.
Yeah, sorry that you put yourself through a really bad time.
I got sucked into that for so long.
It's such a bad vibe.
I like Arcane.
Arcane's great.
Yeah,
Also
playing the game is so. People are mean.
I've heard people like, oh, I really like Arcane. Maybe I'll give the game a try, and then they're like, ah.
So next up, Darren has been removed from the battle, and instead we have the Green Knight because I like the Green Knight more. I don't have any stats listed out for the Green Knight, but what we do know is that the Green Knight will let somebody kill him, but he doesn't die, and then he'll chop off their head if they're like a normal person.
And there's cum in the movie.
Um,
Those are the three things we know.
And depending on the story, he either does chop off the guy's head or doesn't.
Yeah.
He never is defeated in any version of the story.
No, both of these characters can be dismantled and regrow from where they were, except the Green Knight doesn't have to regrow from a sapling like Groot does.
The Green Knight seems more like just a representation of the inevitability of death.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, the Groot, we're going to keep it to the MCU just to keep things sort of...
Yeah, to not over...
Groot has godlike abilities in a lot of the comics. If we're counting comics, things just get out of hand.
Yeah, unfortunately.
And the Green Knight also, I feel like, has more combat ability than Groot.
That is insane to say.
That I don't believe.
Huh?
Firstly, Groot is very powerful, has very sturdy skin, is able to withstand falling hundreds of feet at terminal velocity while thinning out his body to shield his friends, and not only not totally dying, but succeeding in keeping that impact from harming his friends in any way.
Yeah, by creating just like a big ball of wicker.
He has both close and ranged melee abilities, can shoot his limbs at enemies. He's an expert marksman, but tends not to carry weapons, so it's not that big a deal here. But it does mean if he's shooting his limb at an enemy, he will hit you probably. And he's capable of regenerating limbs with some effort.
He also gets stronger based on companionship.
Companionship and just age. It's kind of a tough call.
It really is because, like you said, the Green Knight, he's a representation of the inevitability of death.
Yeah, but it does seem like in a fight, the Green Knight may not fully die, but he'll never win.
At the same time, if he gets a blow on Groot that does, like, because neither of them can die.
Exactly.
Really.
So I think just the fact that Groot is going to win more often means in this case he wins.
I think, well, here's a caveat that I'm going to throw in there. If the Green Knight continues to come back and eventually whittles Groot down to the point where he has to regrow, Groot's done. Because Groot will never grow fast enough to get back to the point where he can take on the Green Knight again.
Let's suppose we don't know if the Green Knight can die. Well, all we do know
is
that
he can be decapitated.
What we do know is that decapitation doesn't kill him.
Yeah.
But we do know that he can be decapitated by a human man, by a human child, kind of.
Sort of, teenager.
Fairly easily.
Which back in those days was the prime of their life.
I don't know. It feels like Groot is the better combatant in this case.
I would definitely agree that Groot is the better combatant. I think Groot would be able to disable the Green Knight.
Yeah, the Green Knight couldn't constrain Groot, but Groot could constrain the Green Knight and keep him.
But if the Green Knight was able to land a scathing blow, something that would make him reduce down in size, I think the Green Knight would have it by that point.
Yeah,
I think I agree with Nick.
But
it's just about the likelihood of that happening
yeah,
before Groot
the
can
likelihood of that happening is very low. Because Groot, he's got reach, he's got shields.
And lifetimes of combat knowledge, because I don't know if Groot... Actually, we don't know if MCU Groot retains knowledge from past lives.
All we know is he is Groot.
He is Groot. But however, if we're counting like around Guardians Galaxy 3, like the most recent era of Groot, he's a very proficient fighter.
That's a good point. If
He
can take on armies.
Yeah, he fights cosmic level things with weapons that far outscale things that the Green Knight has ever had to deal with.
And usually his own body. Which I guess that also is worth pointing out. Green Knight needs a weapon. Groot just needs himself.
True.
So
True,
if Green Knight is disarmed, which Groot could do fairly easily.
Yeah, I don't think the Green Knight's sword could hurt Groot unless we're giving him Arthurian level magic in the blade, which is never implied to be.
Yeah, I think in this case, if we're discounting that the Green Knight is the inevitability of death, but even if we are counting that doesn't really affect Groot.
If we're not counting him as a metaphor, Groot takes it. If he is the metaphor, then
I think Groot still takes it because Groot's not really affected by the metaphor.
Well, the metaphor of death would survive the heat death of the universe. I don't think Groot would.
If Green Knight isn't able to give him a riddle or a task.
I would argue the metaphor of death can't survive the heat death of the universe because what use is a metaphor without people to think about it?
That's why you need
Groot wins.
Plant 15 trees a year. Arbor Day.
Arbor Day.
Go into a park and just plant trees.
Back up. I don't think this is a fair matchup at all. I think Pseudo-Widow takes this one because Pokemon outscale most fiction.
Yeah, given that we decided that Pseudo-Widow was level 99.
Well, given the fact that he can scale to level 99, whereas the Pine Doom is stuck at a constant level.
That's a good point.
They're both in RPGs, but one of them is a scalable one. The other one is, unless you're doing some homebrew bullshit, not.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's totally fair.
Yeah, I think Pseudo-Widow takes that one. Next up,
it's got to be Groot.
Grover versus Groot. Yeah, I think
Groot
easily takes this.
All right. He is Groot.
Now, Pseudo-Widow versus Groot, that's more interesting.
It is. I think this is closer to a fair matchup, but I think you also run into that similar problem of scalable threat.
Essentially, what the real problem we run into is which one of these creatures can die.
And the fact that Groot would literally have the type advantage here.
He would as well. Yeah, he would be. I mean, he could be rock type as well, but he'd be rock grass probably. Yeah,
Groot's not. I don't see any part of Groot that's rock.
Using
this isn't
Pokemon
Korg. This isn't everybody's favorite character, Korg.
Well, if we're using Pokemon rules, he essentially is because he's an alien with rock hard bark.
Yeah, I think in Pokemon,
at least ground type.
I would argue that if we were going to use Pokemon logic, Groot is probably closer to grass fighting.
Certainly fighting.
Yeah.
Which fighting is strong against rock.
So I think so is grass.
That plus, again, Groot's very hard to kill. That puts him over the edge there.
It's kind of gotta.
Yeah. Pseudo-Widow would faint.
Yeah.
Even just counting the MCU, Groot just fucking wipes the floor. But now we have maybe the most interesting matchup we could have.
Oh my God. Is this the final one?
This is the final one. This decides the winner.
This is it.
I love how they're both looking out at different directions. It looks like this was on
If
purpose.
only they were on the other side of the brackets, they could have been facing each other. Instead, they want nothing to do with each other.
Yeah, they're like, I'm sorry, my brother, that we must fight.
The Weirwoods versus, and essentially the Three-Eyed Raven versus Groot.
Wow.
The thing you run into here is that the Weirwoods represent, fate and the ability to kind of manipulate others around them to circumvent and end up at the best outcome, right?
I don't think they represent fate because a man is controlling them.
Okay.
They represent a man being manipulative.
Well, then you look at Groot, who, the pinnacle of the Marvel MCU, of the MCU so far, ended up facing off against a guy who claimed himself to be inevitable.
Yeah.
But was then beaten back. Not by Groot specifically, but by Groot and a bunch of other people.
Well, that's one thing I would say is that the Weirwoods specifically, their power, and then essentially Three-Eyed Ravens / Blood Raven, whatever you want to call him, he gets all his power from being able to manipulate people into wanting to do the things he wants them to do. I think Groot makes friends very easily. It's hard to dislike Groot. And any champion that Brendan Rivers, Blood Raven, Three-Eyed Raven, whatever we call him, would send after Groot, A, couldn't beat him, and B, wouldn't want to. And C, what are they going to use? Fire? Even wildfire, I don't think would hurt Groot.
It doesn't work, yeah.
I would think Groot would win, right?
Just based on like the scale of their own universes, I think Groot kind of wins that one, right?
Yeah.
Like he's...
Well, but I also think, like, even if we're counting the ability for the Weirwoods to manipulate people within Groot's universe to harm him, I still think more people would come to Groot's defense than would want to harm him, and I think that would win.
And the power of friendship, I think, if someone is possessed to come hurt him, they can do some bullshit, and then they'll snap out of it at some point.
But yeah, I still think Groot kind of takes this, if for no other reason than the power of friendship.
If for no other reason than the power of friendship and the fact that he has working limbs.
Yeah, he can evade, he can roll around, he can smoke a joint.
And I guess that's also worth bringing up. A lot of Blood Raven's powers come from the trees themselves, which are much easier to burn.
Yeah.
They burn like normal trees.
Yeah, if you take out the trees, I mean, the friggin' Night King was destroying them.
And Groot's smart. He can work out that you just gotta get rid of the trees.
Yeah. Or you just bro out with them.
Yeah. So I think Groot wins.
Groot wins.
Groot is officially
the strongest tree.
Powerful tree.
Most powerful tree.
Can you think of any more powerful trees?
That aren't world trees. They don't count.
I think Groot would probably win in Avatar too. So
I mean, I guess Awa, sure, but like Yggdrasil,
Yggdrasil, yeah, that's kind of, that's a whole different.
Exactly, that's what I'm saying. Like that's why we don't want to include them.
Tree fact 6,000: trees lower crime rates. Huh. That makes sense.
Especially Groot.
Yes, this specific
Although Groot
tree.
commits crimes.
Fact 4 million trees commit crimes.
Happy Arbor Day.
Happy Arbor Day.
Happy Arbor Day. Thank you for watching. If you like this video,
you can actually click the like button.
You can like it. You can subscribe.
True.
You can become a Patreon member and see us react fully to the horny tree and Snow White dwarves.
It was a boobily tree.
We hope this was your favorite Arbor Day video that came out. I know there's lots to choose from.
There are many Arbor Day videos to choose from. Thank you for choosing ours.